We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
everything theater from A to Z and everything in between. Hi, I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And there is so much going on locally in the Berkshires, but we're traveling down to New York City with our guests now this is like guerrilla Shakespeare. You know, Shakespeare's tough enough, you might think, but the Barefoot Shakespeare Company adds a whole nother dimension to it. Emily Gallagher is our guest. She's the artistic director for the Barefoot Shakespeare Company. Good to have you with us, Emily.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I could talk theater for hours, so I feel like this is a good place for me to be.
Oh yeah, you're home, definitely home.
Oh yeah, we just had we've been talking up here in the capital region that this has been like Shakespeare summer. Everybody did Shakespeare. I did Shakespeare Abridged. We did Something Rotten. We did Midsummer Night's Dream. It's just been Shakespeare all around. And you are the pinnacle Shakespeare in the park. You are the park, Central Park. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do and how you function.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are about a 10-year-old company. We consider ourselves a young company still in New York City. We're about 10 years old. We've been doing free Shakespeare in Central Park. We perform at Summit Rock, which is the highest elevation in all of Central Park. And it has this kind of built-in stage with benches in front of it. It's so beautiful. It is picturesque. Anytime we do any of the pastoral plays, they just look like they belong there. Midsummer is a perfect example of that. And we've just been so lucky to do free Shakespeare in the park. You get so many different passerbys who just come and see what you're doing. And we love it when the kids come by because they always get really engaged when they hear the language. And that's always such a wonderful thing. So we feel like we're part of this great tradition here in New York. We like to partner with young artists to kind of give them an early experience of what theater, kind of guerrilla-like theater, as you mentioned, is like. We do full-length productions, big main stages. We also have been working on some new works that are inspired by Shakespeare, so I'm excited to talk to you all about that. But I also, what you are referring to at our real guerrilla Shakespeare is our Unrehearsed series, which is a fundraiser we do every year where we give our actors 30 days, an exact month, to learn their lines, learn their character, decide who they're going to be in terms of costume and the world they're going to set this in. They're not allowed to talk to anyone else in the show. And they show up day of, hopefully off book, fingers crossed, and have to perform for the first time in front of an audience. And we bring in referees who will blow the whistle on them if they mess up their lines. So if they call for a line or go up on a line or have too long of a pause between lines, we will give them a foul, and we play games throughout, and the points add up, and it's so much fun. The audience gets to bet on who's going to do the worst. The actors bet on who's going to do the best. The actors have a swear jar because we've all done theater, and when you mess up, you are going to swear. Yeah, we have all done it. And so we know they're going to do it live in person. So we tell them then they owe us money. They owe Barefoot money if they do that. Yeah, so it's been super fun. We do mostly the comedies when it comes to this kind of work. We are doing Midsummer Night's Dream this year, which is the poster behind me is the entire text of Midsummer. I had to hang it up for this podcast.
Emily, I've got to jump in. So I would say Ellen and I signed on for this. We would be assigned a role, so we would know what show it was, and we know the role we are playing in that show.
Correct. So we reach out to, this is something we do with our alumni, kind of a fun, we miss you, we love you, let's hang out and play. So we reach out to all of our alumni. We say, are you available on this day to join us? If they say yes, we say, okay, a month from the show, you'll get the script and your character, and you'll have 1 month to memorize your character and get off book for that.
Emily, does anybody ever do this without a mess up?
So it's very rare. It's happened maybe once or twice in about 10 years of doing this, but we've upped the ante this year where we've given our actors an extra challenge that if you do get through an act without messing up, you get $10.
Wow.
So we've never done that before. This is usually a volunteer basis, but we thought, let's see how word perfect we can get this time. And so that's our extra challenge. So this year we'll have to see. I think we'll see a few more word perfect than usual.
You don't
It's
give them a
funny.
little slide on a the or an a or an or.
Yes, that absolutely. We give leeway for fun, intentional ad-libbing. When we did Twelfth Night, I played Mariah, and I decided she would be a French maid, and I did translate some of my lines into French. And so we allowed that because I still said my lines. So there's some play allowed in there for sure.
I say some of our listeners might think, oh, a month to memorize. That's really luxurious. We may not have that. But Benita, can you imagine if like we were thrown in a show and I didn't know that you were playing, say, to Tanya, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, who am I talking to? Like that's gonna mess with your brain so
Right.
much
And
the
you
first
learn
time.
rhythms along with the lines.
Yeah. And you have no blocking, no like, physical memorization with it. Wow.
I will say I agree with everything you're saying. It's quite the challenge. That's why they do get everybody does get a full month. In my experience, when I've done it before as an actor, the best way to engage is to block it. So I learned my lines to movement, thinking, okay, well, whatever my other actors are doing, this may not work, but at least I know where I want to move when I say a line. And so still putting that action to the language was very helpful for me.
Becomes whole body learning.
Exactly.
Oh, this is just a hoot. You're doing this. The first one's on the 26th of August, correct?
So yes, we have one on the 26th of August and one on the 2nd of September, both Saturdays, 4 p.m., Summit Rock, Central Park. It's free. Bring some wine and a picnic blanket if you want and come join us. We hope you'll bet on the actors and donate if you think we're fun. But we just thought this was a really fun way to bring Shakespeare to people who are a little afraid of Shakespeare. We originally billed it as Shakespeare for sports fans because we brought in the referee aspect of it and all of that thinking, and the betting, of course, thinking, don't be afraid. Look at how silly it can be. Also, I think it speaks to the way Shakespeare originally these shows were done in Shakespeare's time, where you wouldn't really necessarily have rehearsed with your fellow actors. You'd have your role, your scroll with your lines on it and your cue lines and dive in. So we thought it was fun for our actors, low commitment, but super fun. And then also a kind of a nod to Shakespeare's time too.
Emily, for those who don't know, where in the park is Summit Rock?
Thank you for asking. Summit Rock is around 81st and Central Park West. So if you enter as if you're going to go to the Delacorte Theater, the Publix Shakespeare in the Park, but then keep to the left, hang a left, you'll pass the Diana Ross Playground. If you just swing a left there, it'll take you right up the hill and you'll be able to find Summit Rock.
Do the actors get to drink with us? Do they need to drink with us?
So definitely after the show, but an actor can make the decision that maybe their character has a flask or a bottle of wine throughout the show, and then that's just a fun little gag they get to do.
I was wondering, there's so many interpretations of Shakespeare, people who set Shakespeare, in the 80s and the 60s and space, whatever. So how much of a hodgepodge is it usually? Do you have people coming in with very different takes on what they thought the show would be?
Absolutely. And that's part of what makes it so fun. When I was Mariah as a French maid, Sir Toby and Sir Andrew, they cheated slightly because they talked to each other, but they came as Wayne and Garth from Wayne's World. And so we were in very, very different worlds. And it was a fun challenge of you make it work. And hopefully you just want to have fun. I mean, that's why we do theater, right? We have fun, we love it. And so that's part of what we do with this.
Does anybody come with cheat sheets? Do they work that into their props?
Yes, absolutely. We had one actor last year who kept like referencing his phone and he was like, no, I'm checking my text messages, but like his script was absolutely there. And a couple of years ago, I had to step in for someone and I had a little muff bag purse thing and I had a script in there that I kept pulling out to check. So yes, people can get quite creative, but the referee might dock you for it. So you have to be careful.
Now, kind of moving into the logistics of your company. So you provide free Shakespeare in the Park, and we've talked to a lot of companies who provide free theater and the challenges that provides, but also the amazing accessibility that is for an audience. So tell us a little bit logistically about how you function as a theater that provides free work, and then how to work in Central Park. Are there permits you have to secure? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a nonprofit company, a 501(c)(3). We operate mostly on donations and also grants. Because we've been working on some newer works in the past couple of years, we've been able to get some grants for those. So that's helped us continue the work that we're doing. We do get park permits. That's how you perform in New York City in the parks, but thankfully they're not that expensive. Um, Park permits are $25. If you get the permit or not, so you're giving up the money either way. But thankfully, at this point, there's enough small theater companies in New York City that the parks have realized what works to their benefit is to have park permits roll over. So Barefoot actually has the exact same park permits every single year. We have the first 2 weekends of June and the last 2 weekends of August / the last weekend of August, Labor Day, depending on how it falls out. But those are always our park permits. As long as I apply for them each year, we will get them. So thankfully that's been making it quite easy over the last few years. It was obviously very challenging when everything closed down and theater moved onto virtual and Zoom, even for outdoor theater. This summer has been a little challenging. We actually had to cancel a show because of air quality, which was something I never thought we'd have to deal with. So it's been interesting in terms of the elements. Obviously, that's always a challenge, but we rehearse outside as well. So that helps keep down rehearsal space costs. We believe in kind of pedestrian grounded Shakespeare in the sense that the words speak for themselves. And if the actors know what they're saying and are having a good time, the audience will know too. So minimal props, minimal costumes. That's where the name Barefoot comes from. We do not perform barefoot. We're outside in Central Park. Everybody has to wear shoes. That is a requirement. But we think that you can strip down Shakespeare to just the text and the intention. And if you have actors who want to be doing this work and saying these words, it works, and the audience knows what you're saying.
We talk often on this program, and we did in the last one, about building audiences. And there was just an article that, and now I won't, I should have pulled it too, but I'll reference it briefly about looking not at, cataclysm for theater, but rather decomposition, thinking it that way, that back to the earth, and then from the earth, regrowth happens. And in some ways, it sounds like, Emily, that's what you folks are doing, is you've deconstructed Shakespeare and now letting it organically grow and take root with audiences who might never have thought this would have been, pardon their bag, but they're going home with a bag full of bulbs to plant now, is I think what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. I think that definitely hits the nail on the head of what we've been trying to do for years. Even our main stages, especially our first few years in the field, we do what we called Americana Shakespeare, where we would pick a very specific place and time in American history to set our shows, just again to give our audiences this easy access to, okay, I understand where this is. For example, we set our As You Like It during the Great Depression, and the Forest of Arden was a shanty town. And so there was this real distinction between the court and having something and not having anything, that our American audiences had a perfect reference point to and knew exactly, okay, I get this story, I understand this world.
And tell us a little bit about the new works that you have been producing.
So this came about in 2018. A collaborator that we've worked with for years, who had his own Shakespeare company, came to us and said, I wrote this play that I'm interested in workshopping and developing and just seeing on its feet, seeing what comes of it. And it's called All One Forest. And it's basically Into the Woods, but with Shakespeare characters, and not a musical, but it's so much fun. It's, Rosalind as Ganymede runs into Viola as Cesario in the woods, and then they run into Helena, and it's just this whole wonderful other story of Shakespeare's characters interacting with each other. So we started with that, and that was kind of the catalyst of doing Shakespeare inspired works. And so there's another play we've been working on for 5 years now called Lady Capulet, which is a prequel to Romeo and Juliet. And we just had a couple of stage readings of it the last couple of weekends. We were at the Bedford Playhouse in Bedford, New York, and then we were at the Little Shakespeare Festival downtown in New York with some readings of this play. We've been working with this cast and the playwright, as I said, for 5 years on developing this work. And I just love this play. It is such a fun play. And it answers the question, what started the feud between the Capulets and the Montagues? And it's quite fabulous. And it's about Lady Capulet. It is about this character who we see in Romeo and Juliet a bit, but now she becomes the hero of her own story. And we get to follow her journey all the way from when she was Juliet's age all the way through Juliet's death. So we do even tiptoe into Romeo and Juliet a bit, which is fun. We get those references and moments.
Do you have a date that you think you're going to mount it?
Oh, that's such a great question. We are hoping actually to bring it upstate New York next fall. We did that last fall as well. The playwright has a home up near the Pennsylvania state line. And so we've gone up there to do it. And so she thinks we might be able to do that again next year. But from these readings, we've met some people, and we're hoping to maybe get some money so that we can do a full production indoors somewhere here in New York in one of the smaller theaters. I really believe in this play, and it's so much fun. And Graham Russell of Air Supply wrote the music for it, which is also really fun. And it's just a great story. Our first night of readings at the Little Shakespeare Festival, when the big reveal happened, the audience audibly gasped. It was such a wonderful feeling of, oh, we got them. They didn't know. They didn't see it coming. So it's so much fun. I really hope we have the opportunity to mount it somewhere soon, for sure.
Now they take us back 10, really 11 years. You're moving into, this is your 11th season. So what was the nugget? How did it get started? Who's the chief cook and bottle washer or washers here?
Such a great question. So I founded the company with two friends, Rob and Courtney, and myself. It was the three of us. Rob and I went to high school together, and Rob and Courtney met working at Sleep No More. And Rob and I had kind of always talked about a company, and then Rob and Courtney started talking about a company. And at first, we just decided, well, let's just have fun. And so let's read Shakespeare. We like, let's read Shakespeare and let's do it fun. So we started this thing called Booze and the Bard, where we would invite friends over on a Sunday and say, okay, this is the play we're reading. Say, okay, we're reading Midsummer Night's Dream. Similarly, we just dole out roles and say, here's who you're playing, but you have script in hand. Of course, you're sitting there. We'd read every single word, which does not happen often with Shakespeare. We often cut Shakespeare pretty significantly to make it a little bit more punchy and palatable. But this was a way we could read every word. and the admission was drink or food, and it kind of became a drinking game, drink when you mess up, drink for famous lines. But that way we started getting through the canon, and we were reading plays in full and coming together as this group of people, and it was so much fun. And about 6 months into that, 8 months into that, it was October, and Rob and Courtney and I were at Courtney's apartment, and we looked around the room, and we were like, hey, look, we did it. Like, we have a company. Like, we found people who want to do the work the way we want to do it, who believe in the words the way we do, who just want to like get together and play with their friends and read this text and have fun and talk about it and dive into it and talk about what it means now and how it affects us now and how it speaks to the moment. And so that was the catalyst. And the next fall we had our first production.
Wow.
Mm.
It's like an Andy Rooney, Judy Garland movie. I've got a big box and mom's got some curtains, and I think we should seriously, which was probably the appeal of those movies, is there was this nugget of truth and approachability, and there were a lot of folks, Emily, who talk about this, but then never sit down and do it.
Yeah, we just got lucky that we saw it in front of us in a way that felt really tangible. And to do outdoor Shakespeare in New York City, it's such a tradition here. We really feel like we're part of something special. And we're lucky we have we call them sister companies, other companies very similar to us who run in our circle that we share resources with and ideas with. And recently one of the other company heads texted me and was like, I'm getting rid of this pregnancy belly, baby bump, do you need it? And I was like, yes, we're doing Titus, I do need it. And you just have these moments where we have a great community, and we're so lucky for that. And it's been such a joy getting to work with so many fun young actors and watch their careers move forward and thrive for our Unrehearsed this year. Just the way it worked out. We're doing two because we had so many people say, we're in, we want to do it. And just the way it worked out, our first weekend is a lot of people we have not worked with in a long time. People from our second year, our third year, our fourth year, who just said, yes, count me in. And it's just so fun to see those people come back and those names come back and think we've created this community that is continuing on, which is so wonderful.
Then what happens with your company with Barefoot Through the Winter?
So in the past, probably 5-ish years now is when we've been workshopping some of these new plays. That's how we've been working on those, either Zoom readings, which has become a viable way to, at least in the early stages, work on pieces like this. We've done the last few falls, we've done some sort of staged workshop of a new work we've been working on. I would say from December through February, I take off. I don't do anything. And then honestly, by come March, we have to be having auditions for our June show. So it is one of those kind of ongoing situations. And especially now that we have some pieces like Lady Capulet, for example, and there's a new piece we're about to start working on that our director of diversity and inclusion wrote called Much Ado About Hero, which is a retelling of the end of Much Ado that gives Hero a lot more agency, which we're very grateful for. And we're getting ready to start working on that. So that's what we kind of will be doing during the winter months, is workshopping some of these works before we can put them up in bigger spaces.
What would you say to, as Benita said, so many people have this idea of like, it used to be a joke. When I was in Chicago, you'd say, what do you call 3 actors in a room? A theater company, right? But as you said, so few like follow through and do it. So what would you say to people who are back where you were 10 years ago and are like, I should do it? What should they know? What should they consider? What things have you learned as you've built this great company?
Just do it. Just do it is my first piece of advice. Don't think about it. Just do it. Do it with people you care about and trust, but make sure you have contracts in place because it is a business. I will say that. And another really good piece of advice, and we just happened to luck out that my college roommate studied entertainment law, so she's on our board. So get someone who knows more about business and legal things than you do. You're the artist, you're the creatives. Go have fun and create and do that. And then get someone who has the legal and business smarts to help get some of that stuff off the ground. But dive in, trust it, find friends who want to do the same kind of work you want to do, and give it a go. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it, in my opinion.
That's really good advice, because everybody thinks we're just going to go have fun.
Right.
But it's
a lot of
having
work.
fun, but right, you've got to have the structure in order to have the fun.
Absolutely. And it's honestly such a reward to get to watch these plays come to life, and to watch especially the young actors have their kind of like little dreams come true of getting to do this again, outdoor theater in New York that is such a tradition here. So it's worth it. It's not easy, but do it.
Yeah.
Don't let that stop you.
That's, it's funny. I do a little writing, as Ellen knows, and I just wrote an article about having a dream, and it's ingrained in theater about dream. And in Bloody Mary sings in Happy Talk, I'm going to paraphrase, but you've got to have, if you don't have a dream, how you have a dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
And, lots of times, people are afraid to dream. They don't put the structure around it as you folks did, Emily. Or then as the dream begins to come true, it may not come true the way you envisioned it. So is this the way you envisioned it? One, and if not, how do you, adapt to what it is and still keep it as close to your dream?
So yes and no. Yes, it's what I envisioned, because as I said, it is just so magical to get to help people realize stories they want to tell and be a part of stories they believe in and want to tell and want to be told. So in that way, I think it is really a dream come true. I think in the ways that it isn't is actually one of the reasons we're still around and still doing well and still successful, is that it's about collaboration, and it's about listening to people who know more than you and who have different ideas, and that's what helps make us better. And we were strictly a Shakespeare company, and we were only going to do Shakespeare, and if we had kept to that, I don't think we would have found some of the incredible pieces we've been working on. And honestly, it's been, for me as a producer and a director, doing these new works have been really thrilling. We've worked directly with the playwrights, and that has just been a whole new exciting venture for me. Doing Shakespeare, you don't get to work with the playwright. It doesn't work that way. So I think in the ways that this isn't what I imagined, it's better. It's better than what I could have imagined.
And on that,
yeah,
go
you're going to
ahead.
say the clock? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got the notice that we're in our last few minutes here. So, Emily, we have a close-up segment of our episode where we ask some rapid-fire questions all about you. So, Emily, are you ready for your close-up?
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
So what was the moment where you knew, I have to do theater?
So I think there were a lot of signs before this, but for me, the moment that I recognized it, I was in 5th grade. We were doing the 5th grade talent show. I was the stage manager, and it was the performance evening. And I realized I knew every single act, every one of them. And I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I don't belong back here. I belong out there. And that was it for me.
And what did your family think when you said, you know what, I'm going to go do theater. I'm going to move to New York City, do the dream?
I am so lucky. They were so super supportive. I came home in 6th grade and said, I'm going to NYU. And they helped me get there and have always supported me this whole entire time. My mom has seen every single thing I have ever been in, ever been a part of. I am very lucky in that sense, very supported by the family.
What would you say is the show that's had the biggest impact on you, whether it's something that you were in or something that you've seen or even just read, something that's stuck with you for your whole life?
That's such an unfair question because I feel like there's 1,000 answers to that. But um, 2005, I don't even know. No, that couldn't. I don't know. I was in a production of the Laramie Project, and it was just life changing. I was in it with some of my best friends from high school. My high school director was the director of it, and I was out of college by that point, and I got to play Romaine Patterson and wear the big wings, and it was I still to this day it was like one of the most magical experiences of my life. So that one really sticks with me.
Now, of Shakespeare's 37 plays, how many would you say that you've read?
Oh, oh my. This is gonna sound so conceited. I'm pretty sure I've read all of them.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure. I'm like, mm, I think maybe I've only seen Two Noble Kinsmen, and haven't actually read that one. I don't know if we're counting that in the, you said 37, so I think we are.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've read Two Noble Kinsmen. Otherwise, I am pretty sure I've read all of them.
I didn't even know there was two noble kingsmen. So so
It's,
far
it's a
ahead of me.
questionable one. It's one of those that were like, do we count it in the canon? So.
Yeah. And which one, to your opinion, is your favorite, and what reason why?
Also so challenging. Um, Titus Andronicus is one of my favorites. Actually, I've always loved it. The Julie Taymor film really won me over. After seeing Jessica Lange play Tamara, I was like, dream role right there. And I actually got to do it this year with our company. I got to play Tamara, and it was so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again. But also, just to be cliche, Romeo and Juliet is just a beautiful play. The language, the story, it's just stunning. It's one of the most famous for a reason.
And speaking of dream roles, are there other ones that are on the bucket list, either Shakespeare or not, either with your company or not?
So for Shakespeare, there's just too many to name in all honesty, but I think the next one I'd really like to give a try is Gertrude in Hamlet's mother. So that's little, I think I have to be a little older, but I'm getting excited for that one. And ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to play the mayor's wife in The Music Man.
Ah!
Eulalie McKechnie Shin, one Grecian urn. I
Balzac.
just love her. Right. I just love her, and I just always have. And so one day when I'm a little bit older and more quirky character actor, I'm gonna go out for that role for sure.
That's
Oh,
great.
such a fun one.
So once more, the 26th of August, the 2nd of September, at the Summit Rock in Central Park, just off of 81st Street, Central Park West. The Shakespeare
Unrehearsed.
Unrehearsed. I was looking to be clever, but Shakespeare unrehearsed, come girded, just don't throw things except dollar bills.
Yes, throw all the dollar bills. Yes, come have fun and enjoy.
And to read more, you just want to go to the Bard at barefootshakespeare.org.
That's our email address.
And, okay.
The website is just barefootshakespeare.org.
Okay. There you go. barefootshakespeare.org. At least we got the .org. And have at it. Emily, this sounds like so much fun. I'm closing the show I'm in on the 26th. So and then we're away on the 2nd. Otherwise, dang it, I'd be saying to Ellen, let's get on the train and get down there. And, but there's always next year. But I hope a lot of folks listen to this, make the trip, enjoy it. And we'll keep tabs on all the work that you folks are doing. It sounds so exciting.
Thank you so much. We're so thrilled that you had the time to speak with us. And we just hope people check us out online. And if they like what they see, come check us out in the park. I think we're a lot of fun. So come have fun with us.
Perfect. And this has been so much fun. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll get you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Thanks so much. And again, Emily Gallagher the artistic director with Barefoot Shakespeare. Put on your shoes and go check them out. Thank you. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything.